Fly is going to die. Okay, I guess we're live. Fly bugs more time is not going to be. And let's see. No one in there yet, so this is for posterity's sake when this thing gets posted afterwards, but come on now. Here we go. Oops. Yeah, that again. Okay. Whoops. That on there. Well, I suppose we can subscribe to Pixar. Get that thing to behave.
Lady, why am I alive? You are a toy. You belong to Bonnie. These are your friends.
Woody, I have a question. Well, actually, not just one. I have all the questions.
Who wants to go on a road trip?
Me!
Vacation! No, I got it. I know, this is a little strange, but we all have to make sure nothing happens to Forky.
Something happened to him.
Buzz, we gotta get Forky.
Roger that.
The panic is attacking me.
Okay.
Change your class. Jesse, Ham, Buzz, Boat, Rex, Potato Head.
Hey, watch it, buddy.
Let's go save a spork.
Do I need to be worried?
Well, my guys are veterans. They'll hang in there.
On my way, Woody.
Damn it, come on. Yeah. Will you stop that? What is it with you? Alright. For the record, my tablet is decided. I guess it's been dropped here. Hey, stop playing with my soda. Alright. Get this thing off of this thing. Yes, my tablet decided it's not going to obey me at all. Unless I do weird things to it. It seems to lock up. Get on my channel. So I can follow along on here. A lot easier to follow along with the chat when I do that. There we go. Hopefully. No, that's not quite what I was after here. Are you going to get up there or what? Hmm? We're going to break this thing in half. Okay.
Do you remember what it felt like to be normal?
Come on, you piece of junk. There. Alrighty. Yeah, to be honest, for the possibility of, someone throws a super chat at me, or more preferably someone throws something on my PayPal, because that's a little more immediate. Oh, damn it. Yeah. Come on, no, I don't want trending. I want my channel. There we go, finally. What is it with this thing? It looks to seize up. There. Now we can get in here. No. Find the cord. Plug that back in. On the other end. No. Cord. Go. Let me turn this down so it doesn't confuse the hell out of me. There. All right. Yes, it is midnight. After midnight here. 12:23 to be precise. Head of candy. He's actually not being a brat right now. So far, it's not a totally unpleasant night. Unlike the past few nights, they've been rather abhorrent. There's been a sauna. Yesterday, I finally rained late enough that it actually cooled things down. Oh, oh lordy. Whoop. And there went the lights up. Sound like a half-hour timer. So, all right. So, as far as current events goes, well, let's see. Stuff is proceeding nicely. Found out today that we haven't paid. We're overdue on the mailbox we have down here. So, but they'll wait until payday on that, so we're fine on that. Although, as always, contributions are always welcome. So, yeah. Okay, Jonesy, you got a like. Want to get up here and show off? But let's see. I am currently editing a retrospective I'm doing on Star Trek fan films. It'll probably run about 15 minutes all told. For it to be longer, but turns out it took forever to finally get around to writing the damn thing, because I figured this didn't be scripted out. So I wrote it out, scripted up, and then had to record it out here in the car, because inside a Starbucks sounds like an auto shop. So I had to do it out of here. Unfortunately, in the middle of the day, with the engine shut off and no fan going, so I was literally dripping with sweat by the time it was over with. So, oh, stop it, you. Hey, Jones, you're being a brat. Hey, stop it. All right, get up there. Get up there, you little weasel. All right. Okay. He's not a cuddle cat. As much as we try and get him that way, he does not like to cuddle. Oh, you knock it off. And unfortunately, the riding crop is now back in Colorado with Mecca, as you may have seen in the past few videos. Here, knock it off. All right. I think she likes it. It's a nice one, But, okay. So hopefully sometime tomorrow I'll get that thing all finished and edited together and put up and looking all nice and fancy. Let's see. In the meantime, still need gas money and stuff like that. So, like I said, PayPal links are, well, hell, let me go and throw something together here. If I can get this thing to behave. Here we go. Come on. There we go. Yeah, this thing's determined to be a pain in the butt tonight. Can you actually... get this thing to stay consistent here. Damn it. Come on. There we go. No. That's... Oops. No. What the hell? Stop that. Okay. So get that up there. I want to get some direct contributions going. And super chats are open, but they don't hit for a while yet. And while it is getting close, it's like $11 short of getting a check out of PayPal. Or out of YouTube, rather. Yeah, there's a time delay on that. So, yeah. Come on, you. Yeah, I really want to get crazy. I need a new tablet. Because this stupid thing apparently been dropped a few too many times. As evidenced by, if you can see here. Whoops. I don't know if you can see. No. The screen has got like, it looks like a spider web of cracks on here. So, come on. Largely behaved itself earlier tonight when we're doing game night with Random and the rest of them. But there were times that it was, whoops. There we go. There was a few times it almost, became a frisbee. So. Come on. Go. For some reason it's locking up. It doesn't want to finish. There we go. And there we go. And we're back on there. Yeah, I did play Jackbox with him a little bit. The only real problem was they started, I was over at Starbucks, but it was like only an hour left before they were going to close. So I went and just moved over to McDonald's because they couldn't close till midnight. So there was a bit of a delay in me being able to get in there. And then, of course, fighting with this stupid thing, because this is how I play with on there. Because I got the laptop to follow the chat and all that, but then this one to actually do the playing. And it's decided it doesn't want to, half the time it doesn't want to respond at all or starts locking up unexpectedly. Which can be a bit awkward in some of those games. Thankfully, the one I did manage to get in there wasn't critical. So it was one of those typing ones. So I could, if it locked up, I can do the little adjustments to get it to work again. If it was a drawing game or something requiring speed, I would have been in trouble. So. But yeah, this poor thing is just about had it, I think. So I can start looking at getting the new one. I wouldn't mind. It's an Amazon Fire. I wouldn't mind it. It was like an 8-inch thing. It's a dinky little thing. And I got a keyboard, or Bluetooth keyboard for, but it's for like a 12-inch, or at least an 11-inch. So it's a big one. So I can need something to fit that really. But yeah, that's a concern little down the road from when right now I'm really needing gas money more than anything else, so I'm just gonna lay that out there for you. But any questions out there, everything going on, I'm certainly open here. So Alright. And let's see, and the cat is avoiding me right now. Steph is doing okay. Like I said, she's, the Medicaid's been approved, so there's no problem if we're being booted out of rehab anytime soon, or prematurely. So that will be okay. Alright. You getting back up here now? Oh, good Lord. Yeah. What? What is your problem, cat? You gonna be civilized tonight or what? Okay. Yeah, they're starting to get her back when she might be able to start at least getting up out of bed and going to the bathroom herself. So, which would be definitely a big morale booster, if nothing else. So, because there's one thing I have found about staying in the hospital is no matter what but the more bedridden you are, the more infantilized you become, really, because you really are reduced to an overgrown infant. And you got nurses there and everything ready to, literally wipe your ass and clean your diaper if they put you in one, and help you take a bath and everything else. So that you and emotionally you can't help but just kind of revert to, into a little kid. Because back in '94, when my appendix decided to go bluey, and I wound up in the VA hospital for like 35 days. I found my emotional state I got a lot more emotional over things than I normally do. So, I think just, something about it, just like, you no longer have to be even, an adolescent. I mean, it's just like right back to childhood. Well, yeah, because they're full of sick people. And that's not the God's honest truth. And the docs will tell you, yeah, if you weren't sick going in, you're the good chance of being sick going out, because you're surrounded by sick people all the time in the hospital. So, yeah, I'm pulling a lot of gray hairs out lately. These are the long ones. But yeah, well. One thing that in Steph's case is good because it's a rehab facility, so it's no real disease thing. It's all physical rehab stuff, so there's not a chance of her catching anything really. And also, hopefully, because it is a rehab thing, and they're supposed to make you better so you can go home or go somewhere else. That there won't be the thing where I had when I was in the VA rest home thing. That they really are no big hurry to get you out of there because they get paid by how many's in the bed and whatever. So, I pretty much had to almost stage a mutiny to get out of there. Plus, also there's the factor of the doctors there were convinced I had MS or something. So like, a lot of the exercise program, it was like, trying to get you used to being in the wheelchair. It's like, I know. I'm not trying to be, I'm trying to get, thing. And I try to get convinced there's some kind of pinched nerve thing going on there. And it looks like I was partially right. There was some pinched nerves going on. All right. Stop charging. But it was like, it took a couple of years by figuring out that there probably was a teeny bitty stroke somewhere in there, too. It's like technically barely even registered as a stroke, but it just happened in the wrong spot to cause some lasting damage. But there was also some pinched nerves too, because I told this before, where it's like, after getting out. I was able to hobble around there. I mean, for a while there was, a cane and, sweatpants and shoes with a Velcro anyway. But I was just driving along and just cracked the neck like that, and suddenly the feeling of my arm started coming back a little bit. It's like, yeah, I was right. It's pinched nerve. So it started, going to my mom's chiropractor. And they managed to cut a deal for, their own little veterans discount thing. And yeah, there's some improvement, and there is still some improvement, but I think a lot of it now is the fact that, stuff slowly starting to, reconnect and regenerate. Because but even the chiropractor said, there's nothing that says there couldn't be more than one thing going wrong here. So, but yeah. I mean, even when I went, follow up with the VA back in Denver, and even with different, they were sticking with thing. They're convinced there was something with MS, even though there was no, because the M in MS is multiple sclerosis. I mean, and we've got friends that have MS, and it's different. It shifts around from place to system to system. One day you're feeling perfectly fine. You're feeling run the Boston Marathon. Then suddenly your left side doesn't want to work, or you're blind in one eye. It's just random. Things just happen that suddenly things don't work. And that's not what was going on with me. No, it's the left side. It's partially numb, and it's like that's not changing. It's not MS. Get off that. Okay, I think the cat might be needing a little tending to back here. Yeah. He's getting the stuffy in here, so I'm going to have to run the engine a bit to get some air conditioning going. But back in a second, I'm going to check on the cat back here. So, any questions, go ahead and post them on there. I'll get to them in a second. Put the light on here so I can see what's going on back here. Alright, cat. Yes, I know. Get some water here for you. There. And some food. Here we go. Here. Okay. Get away from the door. Okay. All right. This is one aspect of how being in this vehicle is a heck of a lot better than previous situations where, like in sedans or whatever. And that instead of the litter box being like the back seat, usually right behind me, and his food dish being up on the rear deck, this is the Explorer. He's way in the back by the rear gate. Got a covered litter box now, so it's not quite as stinky. And his food dish is water is back. He's got the whole back area, If it came down to start actually packing up and leaving out, we could pack this in a lot further than we have right now. There's a lot of open space we're not doing it for the benefit of the cat, really. But also the fact that we don't need to carry around all this crap. We got a storage unit down here. They're maintaining for all that. So mostly what we got in here now is mostly food. I've been kind of stockpiling from local charity. So that I'm not blowing everything I got on Burger King or McDonald's. So, a bunch of go here. Grab a can of SpaghettiOs, which I'm kind of getting SpaghettiO'd out, but that's what I mostly get. So It's nice when, a can of chunky soup. That is good. But I think once we're out of the situation, I don't think I'll need to eat another can of SpaghettiOs as long as I live. So, it's kind of like one of the stories in the making of Star Trek about Bill Shatner when he was starting off. There was a point where he was in a situation where he was like so dirt poor and that all he could afford to eat at the local food truck was fruit salad. And yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, at the time, it was like second season, I think that he would still react violently whenever anyone would suggest fruit salad as a dish. So, I don't know what. All right, this fly is going bye-bye. Yeah, out. Hopefully it left. All right. Well, I'm getting that way with SpaghettiOs at this point, though. So, of course, it's locked up. There we go. That's good. But okay, goddamn. Yeah, I've been doing, working as retrospective on fan films and trying to put together basically a concise history, hitting mainly the highlights because I know there are hundreds of them out there. So I'm mainly hitting the major ones out there, starting off with the earliest known one that's out there available is something from 1967. It's just titled Star Trek. Damn it. There you go. And it's the usual thing, kids, with the family Super 8 camera with, insignias taped to their t-shirts in the living room, rearranged them like the bridge. And a, model on a string. This thing's starting to piss me off. All right. And then, let's see, I kind of skipped over one from 73. It was called the Klingon Gambler, or something or other. But the next big one that really kind of kicked up the notch, my phone is rebelling right now, so this may not last that much longer, was something called Paragon's Paragon. Some of these things got a little bit of fame in the fan circles. You hear about these things going, oh wow, I want to see that. And apparently the film is still out there. It's called Paragon's Paragon. It was basically a loose remake of Spock's Brain, where they just kind of changed the names a little bit. But they built their own sets, a reasonable approximation of the bridge. They had a transporter room and briefing room and stuff. The uniforms looked okay. It's typical 70s long hair and sideburns, though. So, fly, you're going to die. You don't watch it. And the model shots look a little better, but it's still obviously the A&T model, just, using the camera work. But that one kind of, kicked it up a notch as far as, what can be expected out of a fan film. And things about like that. But, pre-video day, it's like up until, really recently, it was a big undertaking to do a fan film. Because from there, the next big one that made me notice was Yorktown, A Time to Heal. And that main thing was because they got George Takei in to play Sulu. It was supposed to be like just pre-motion picture, where Sulu was off on another assignment for a while. But what also gets me is they got James Shiketa to play Admiral Nagura. Shiketa is not a lightweight. I mean, it's the guy's like, how the hell did you get him? This is the kind of guy, he played Nakatomi in Die Hard. The big, boss man got blown away early on. But that's the kind of guy, if you're doing a World War II film, this is the guy you get to play Yamamoto, okay? This is, or the wise old samurai who knows, who can kick anybody's ass with one hand tied behind his back. So how the hell they get James Shiketa for a fan film, Okay, one problem with the ramen noodles, and we've got a bunch of them back here, actually, too. We racked up a lot of those, is you need hot water. And And while, yeah, it is doable, because especially we got the cup noodle thing. So it's going to, take a cup, one of our little reusable cups here up to the counter, get some hot water, and then, pour it in there. But that's something I got. That was one thing I would still ask George Takei sometime. I might do it via Twitter, because firstly, he's starting to piss me off politically. He's just getting so damn strident, it's going to irritate the hell out of me. But I would like to find, how the hell they got James Cicada to be in a Star Trek fan film, Got you. But I remember that, like a lot of guys, I remember reading about that in Starlog, because they made a big deal about it. But hey, George Takei's going to be in a fan film. All right, get that down. Yeah, don't get that on. All right. But that was kind of, the big thing with that is it never really got finished. Certainly not during the time period they were actually working on it. It was like 20 years later, somebody came along and managed to get a hold of the guy who was originally working on it and kind of picked up where they left off. And thankfully, all the principal photography with everybody on the Planet Service was done. So they don't have to go back and try and figure out how to make George Takei look like he did back in '85. And I think Cicada may be dead by now, too. So, or certainly not, certainly doesn't look like he does back in '85. But all the remaining scenes were like up on the bridge, up on the ship and stuff. And those, they got, I think they used Ticonderoga sets for those. But that one, they're either close to finishing or should have been finished by now on Yorktown. So it's a matter of when are they finally going to release this thing so we can actually see it. I got teaser stuff about going back to from a couple of years ago, but you have to actually see them release the damn thing. And then from there, everything kind of quiets down again for another few years till about it was 2002, I think, or I'll check the link, but that's when Starship Exeter hit the thing. And they're the ones who really started kicking off the thing, because you had pretty accurate, screen accurate reproductions of the sets. Well, I'm getting to them. I'm getting to continues. Okay, but yeah, Exeter's the one that really kind of kicked it up a notch. As I hear, here's what you can do, guys. And you had, and of course, one thing, what happened to the Exeter? You figure out it was just decontaminate the ship, even if you just open a hatch and blow all the stuff out and clean it out that way. Decontaminate it, get a new crew, new captain, send it back out, and that's the premise here. Is like the Exeter's now new crew, new thing. John Quincy Garavik. I don't know if they ever really established what the relation was, but it's got to be either related somehow to Ensign Garavik on the Enterprise and Captain Garavik of the Farragut. Both are in Obsession. So we got to figure out what happened there. You got to watch the rest of them. You got to watch the rest of those episodes because it builds up. But yeah, with what tripped up Exeter though was pretty much real life. Things cut up. People, because we are amateurs doing these things, so they really could not, keep up with us in their own lives. And with the second episode, where things really kicked on there, because then they've got the whole bridge. They built more sets, and they've got Dennis Bailey doing the CGI stuff, because originally it was a model shot of the Exeter. They got a real good CGI model. That's one thing about Dennis Bailey. He's a pain in the ass and an egotistical twit, but he is a damn good CGI guy, and he's a pretty good writer. But trying to get the pre-production done on that, it was literally like a couple of 2 or 3 years, because they released it one act at a time. It was like the teaser and the credits. Then Act 1 would come out, a little while later, and then Act 2, and then Act 3, and it became a running gag for a while of when is Act 4 of that show finally going to drop, and it really was literally a few years. before Act 4 finally got released. And by then, it's like, it had been almost 10 years from the time they filmed that thing to the time it finally released. Anything after that pretty much was just forget it. We're out of it, In fact, seeing the footage of when they... there was the cat. When they sold the sets off to the Starship Ajax crew. Jim Johnson was not going to fit in the Starfleet uniform again. He put on quite a bit of weight, but and the hair was going. Looking kind of like me right now. Yep. I think that was also where Tom Habercorn really got a handle on Spock. So, calm down. Here we go. Oh, so stressed out, kitty. Come on. Yeah. All right. But it was a couple years after that when they came out. Then here comes James Cawley. And the thing is, what Exeter did, they did what a lot of people figured was probably the best approach for a fan film, is you don't do the Enterprise. No one's going to be able to replicate Kirk and Spock and all that. So it's like, don't even bother. Do another ship. There's a big fleet. And that's what, Exeter and the other, and I think most of them actually were doing green screen stuff, so they didn't have to worry about building sets. But with Exeter, it's like, no, we'll do a different ship. One of the other ships out there. Cawley comes along, and nope, we're doing the Enterprise. He's playing Kirk. But, so you got this issue in which, because Cawley, remember, he made his fortune as one of the top Elvis impersonators in the world right now. He's up there. And that means it's like, no, you can't get rid of the black hair and the pompadours. That's how that's how he pays for this, shindig. So for a while, I was just looking at it as, well, this is an alternate timeline thing where Hawaii Five-0 didn't take off. Jack Lord needs a gig. He's backed off on his demands to have 50% ownership of the show. Because they asked him originally when they were casting for the captain during that whole process. And I forget if it was before or after Jeffrey Hunter, but Jack wanted 50% ownership of the show if he was to sign on. I mean, he was interested, but he was really interested. He wanted to fit there. By this point, there wasn't 50% ownership to give out because the studio had a majority of the thing, and even Roddenberry didn't have 50% ownership of the show at that point. So it was like, yeah, sorry, we can't work a deal, Jack. Better luck with this Hawaii show. But I figure, in this universe, things have changed. He's backed off a bit. Shatner's left the show, and they just do kind of a Darren Stevens and just, slide Jack into the tunic, and, we'll still call him the same character. And that kind of, moves things on a bit. Because Cawley's acting style is not that dissimilar from, Jack Lord. No, Jack Lord was just, really, like a typical big leading man of the 60s style. This phone is really starting to get on my nerves. And it was really with Star Trek New Voyages that everyone else started thinking, okay, let's do our own thing. Okay. And people started building their own bridge sets or borrowing other people's bridge sets and started to put on their own shows. And it was like with Starship Farragut, where they had another one down south. And come on, cat, calm down. Hey, knock it off. And if you recall, Vic Mignogna was in a couple of Star Trek New Voyages, or Phase 2, depending on where the line is drawn. He was in a couple of those. One he played in Andorian, apparently. I don't remember it exactly, but most notably when they finally did Katoomba. I think this is actually where they became Phase 2, because they were digging through some of the old Phase 2 scripts. And Katoomba was one of them. It was a John Meredith Lucas story about the Klingons, which had to be reworked to fit in what we know about the Klingons now, because what he had originally would not have fit today. And And Vic played the big bad Klingon, and Michelle played her, his sidekick. But I think this part, for Vic was wanting to do his own thing, and he was shopping around for a while. I know he kind of got a few nose bend out of shape. He was trying to get the Exeter sets for a while from the the Starship Ajax guys. And we had like a 2-hour conversation with one of the guys involved with that. So he was not. He did not make a good impression with the group down there. So that kind of set me off a bit when Star Trek Continues came along. But it won me over rather quickly too. But eventually he got up with the Starship Farragut guys. And that's where that bridge comes. It was Starship Farragut's bridge and I guess some quarters. Because what happened is they were kind of borrowing a warehouse. There was a guy who had a warehouse. And he let them use it for free. He said, I'm doing nothing with it anyway. It's just letting them go ahead, knock yourself out, go and play Star Trek. And they got a few episodes, but along comes the day when he's found somebody to rent it out to, and he tells them, "No, you got to go. I've rented the space out. You got to get your stuff out of there." And that's when Vic said, "Hey, look, we're not going to trash. I will buy these." And he bought the sets off them, and moved them to the place they are now in Kingsland, Georgia, very nice place. Where they are to, and they added to them and expanded them, and they got engineering and so. But I think the Kingsland sets and the Ticonderoga sets are the only ones that have a engineering deck built up, and I don't think Phase 2 ever got to use their engineering deck in an episode. I'll have to check that. Maybe if it was one of the latest episodes. But Continues, they got their engineering set, they got to use it. Chris Doohan was in This Is Hit, it's for your dad, so here we go. You got your engine room. And things are going all hunky-dory. Now the big thing with Continues though is it was like their mission was they were going to finish up the 5-year mission and try and dovetail right in with the original series. And that meant also not just doing the stories, but also the acting had to be up to notch and the production values had to be, so they had to match this thing, as best as they could. And with Vic being a professional actor, he's not just in anime, he's done on-screen stuff too. And he knows a bunch of other actors who are also Star Trek fans who would kill to do these things. So he was able to recruit far and wide and crew people. He was getting professional people to do this thing. And of course, for the bulk of it, you had Doug Drexler providing the visual effects, because something likes to tell, the Enterprise model they had, it's a digital model, but it's still a model. It was originally developed for the remastering of the original series episodes for CBS. They had come to it and they wanted to do it, and so that's why the damn model looks so damn good. It was intended for CBS. And it was kind of like last minute, like, nah, check out that. We'll do it in-house. It'll be a little cheaper that way. So he had this Enterprise model on hand. And so when, they're shopping around for someone to do the visual effects, say, hey, I happen to have something that would be very useful. And frankly, Doug's looks a lot better than what CBS went with. Because one thing CBS did, their versions is kind of washed out. The markings aren't quite as bright. But yeah, for the longest time, for most of that, almost, I'd say up until about like the 8th episode, I think, it's Doug Drexler. That one kind of fell apart though, because there was a dispute, the disagreement over how to do a certain show. It was Embrace the Winds, I think, where they're debating about this female commander getting command of a starship. And it was a disagreement over a shot through a window where Doug had, a shuttlecraft taken off. And it was a beautiful shot. I was like, what's the problem here? I can only figure that it looked too good in the sense of this is not something they would have been able to do back in the day at all, really. So I think that's the only way. That's the only gripe I can think of that Vic would have with that shot, because otherwise it was beautiful. And part of the agreement he had with Doug is that he would do it as long as he gets to do it his way. And arguing with that shot kind of, the cross. Okay, well that's it. I'm out. So I think there's probably a lot of stock footage, but also other guys, and they already have it pretty established. So that wasn't, dang it. So things are going great, guns. Sergeant continues is chugging along, and it's great acclaim, and they're cranking out episodes at a pretty good rate because Star Trek New Voyages Phase 2, they have a total of like 10 episodes spread out over a lot of years, whereas Star Trek Continues got 11 episodes in a much shorter time period, only like 2 or 3 years, really. And things are going, it's going to the conclusion, and along comes Axanar. And upsets the entire apple cart. I mean, before it's like, all right, yeah, well, they're like the next stage, because they were planning a big feature-length thing about the 4 Years' War. And meanwhile, other guys had also been, because like Star Trek Horizon was an Enterprise era show. They just put out a feature thing. And that one, I think they got a little kindly note from CBS around the same time that, they're nailing Alex Hyde to the wall, saying, you don't want to pursue this any further, because they had a sequel planned. I think a big part of that is the name of the ship in Star Trek Horizon has nothing to do with the Horizon. It's the NXO something or other Discovery, which is not a really breach because they're naming all these ships after the shuttles. So it was like you had Enterprise first, Columbia. Next one would have been Challenger. I forget where Discovery is in that sequence, but the Atlantis and Discovery. And those are the first 5 shuttles. So yeah, Atlantis and somewhere. So it's perfectly in keeping that you'd have them and then XO something or other Discovery. I think that was probably a key in it there because they had their own Star Trek Discovery in the plans here. So it's a complicated matter. There's a lot of things. I don't go to the thing of it's too good. I don't think they gave a rat's ass about that. Okay. I think a lot of it was that Alec did cross the line in making it very clear that he was going to start a for-profit studio on the back of Axanar. All the facilities that he was going to build up for making Axanar he was going to turn right around and start making a studio to make money out of it. And also with all the premiums he was selling with the patches, the model kits, the coffee, and it's like that's it. This has turned into a shop. Okay, it's not and he raised like $2 million, and I think even then they were starting to grumble up. You got $2 million, Alec. People are making full-on films on 1/10 of what you've got racked up so far. Where's the damn movie? He kept finding excuse after excuse to not start production. And I think a lot of it was also probably infighting behind the scenes because screwing around with Rob Burnett and everything else, but finding every excuse in the world to not. He kept giving more money and getting more. It sounded like he was a little more in love with the idea of being a studio owner than in making a fan film. But yeah, the lawsuit comes in, and everyone kind of takes a collective breath for a second. Say, "Whoa, what the hell?" Because one of the he screwed up for everybody. It wasn't just for Vic. He screwed it for everybody. He damn near brought the entire fan film thing down below its years because his ego got in the way. But a lot of people had to pretty much either scale back their ideas or just scrap them entirely because when the guidelines came out, it was one of the big defenses that Alec had or attempted defense is that there's no guidelines. How can I be guilty of violating guidelines when there's no guideline, the rules, when there's no rules to begin with? the thing is, before, really going back to the early days, and I bring this up in the thing. Paramount was perfectly happy to turn a blind eye to a lot of this stuff, because they, it wasn't worth their time to start squashing this stuff, and it didn't make them look good to the fans, and they knew they needed the fans to watch this stuff and buy what merchandise they were putting out. But it was also, like studio, it was a little, still had some studio guys who realized that, you need fans. You need the dedicated fan base to come back time after time. You can't rely on new audience every time for a franchise like this. So they'd leave the fan, as long as you're not making a lot of money on it. And I'm talking encompassing not just fan films, but garage model kits, T-shirts, bumper stickers that people do. And also, it wasn't that expensive to get a license anyway back in the day. But even the unlicensed stuff, they pretty much left you alone for the most part, as long as you weren't, buying a house with the money. As long as if you're only making like, a few $100 a month on this stuff, they weren't going to bother you because it wasn't worth the time. I mean, the lawyers would cost more than they would possibly get in a settlement on things. So it's like they pretty much leave you alone. And again, at this point, the fan films are still pretty much, the kids with the Super 8 camera running around, playing Klingons, Federers and Klingons instead of cowboys and Indians. But things had progressed a long time, and also ownership had changed. When Viacom took over, that's when you start seeing, that was, when, if you remember, anyone remembers the attempt they try and shut down all the fan websites. Kind of forgetting that the internet was about 90% of the internet was either porn or Star Trek. What percentage is which, who knows? But that's pretty much all, for the most part, a lot of it was, porn and Star Trek. Those are the two biggest categories of websites. So good luck shutting all that down, jackasses. So, yeah, and that's where, they heard the term Paraborg. If anybody remembers that one, that's what started that one, when they started trying to squash anybody and everybody who, cross. And they eventually learned it's not going to work, guys. You're just pissing off your audience. And so, so it started with Viacom, and then on when CBS, through the same process, because CBS bought Viacom or something, somebody bought somebody. I think actually Viacom bought CBS, and they liked the CBS name better, which happens a lot in mergers. Whereas one company will buy the other company, and they like that name better, so they'll change it to that name. And you think, oh, Continental bought out Texas Airlines? No, Texas International bought Continental, okay? But they like Continental better. And yeah, so Alec is complaining about there's no guidelines. So how can I be guilty of violating rules? So, okay, you want guidelines, smart guy? Here's some guidelines. And I do think, I'm going to stick up for John Van Citters a little bit, because some people are saying he's the one who came up with the guidelines. He's the one who screwed us. I think that was a defense, because at this point, remember, it's not too long. This is around the same time that, well, it's not that long since Les Moonves, he was still in charge of CBS at the time. He just canceled Star Trek Enterprise. Just, he wanted to cancel season 2, but, the head of the UPN managed to hold him off for a couple of years. But season 4, and that's it. He just dropped the X. The ratings were fine. The stories are firming up. It was finally embracing itself as a prequel. The fans were coming back around. It's like there was every reason in the world to keep that show going for another couple of years at least. And Moonves just cut out of spite because he hates sci-fi. He doesn't understand it. It doesn't fit in his worldview, so he just pulled the plug on it. So he had no love for Star Trek at all. It was part of the catalog. But he was just, he didn't give a rat's ass. All he cared about was the money. So I think the guidelines was a way to hold off Moonves from just everybody. Because that was the way he operated. Just, no, you're getting, you make a fan film, we're squashing you. And so and I've been trying to get, because during the little PR run that Van Citters went on to try and sell these things, because some of these are come across as a little on the drain. And the cat's about to come out. There we go. But a lot of it's a little bit kind of overreacting. Okay. disconnected here on the tablet, but a lot of it's like, and it says in the preamble, these are guidelines in the sense of you stay within these guidelines, you're fine. We will not sue you. Straight outside the guidelines, you're taking your chances. Not that we're not saying going to sue you, but you're leaving yourself open to it if it need be. In other words, like if you want to, like do a third episode of your thing, it's like you're running up again. You might, if they decide to nail you, you're not in cover anymore. Or you want to do one that's longer than 30 minutes type thing. It's like you better not, better watch how far you're pushing it. So let's see, I'm actually in this thing. But that is where the guy, and I think Van Sitters was trying to run interference, but gives a little bit of leeway so we can still have a little bit of fun here. But he also made the point that the Lucasfilm guidelines were a lot more harsh. And at this point, it was still Lucasfilm. Disney had not yet bought them out, and they were doing the fan. I think they had just about it, just taken over in the it's like the waning days of Lucasfilm as an independent company. And I've seen references to those rules, and it's similar. Like I think the limits may be a little bit shorter than 15, maybe 10 or 15 minutes. But they were also having their fan film awards too. They were celebrating the fans. They're making facility stuff available to the fans to use, like sound effects and music, so for making these fan films. Which I think CBS should do. Right, it's in my little master plan. You want to start really sucking kiss ass to the fans. I think they could loosen up a few of those guidelines, especially the time limit thing, because that's a little daunting. Even though most films you can do in like 15 minutes, you don't want to have that hard limit on there. You want leave them up. But make these rules have a purpose, because that was a lot for the purpose of the Lucasfilm ones, was they want to compete in the guideline, in these contests we have over here. Here's your rules. You got to fit within these guidelines here. It's got to be this, and this. And I think that is where CBS needs to go with Star Trek in regard to fan films. But like everyone's trying to figure out, in the case of Axanar, though, it is not just guidelines, it is hard, fast rules. Their 90-minute thing will be chopped down to 30 minutes max, and it's going to be in 2 15-minute segments. And they're saying, at the time of this video, production has yet to begin. Probably because Valk spent all the damn money on lawsuits and his girlfriend's boob jobs, huh? And something, but I'm talking about Alec is just, I'm a lawyer. No, you're not a lawyer if you've never practiced. I don't care if you went to law school. He passed the bar in North Carolina, apparently, but he's never practiced law. So he really cannot call himself a lawyer. I know lawyers. I know damn good lawyers. That doesn't matter. One of them is worked for the city attorney in Plano, Texas. The other one was a former U.S. attorney in Colorado, a former legal counsel to the governor of Colorado. And now he's currently working on Native American issues. Okay. So yeah, I know lawyers. Okay. I've been told I probably made a pretty good one if I got into law school, but oh well. Mainly because I wasn't told I'd argue with a fence post, which is also a thing you expect of a lawyer. Like you want to take on an argument no matter what. But yeah, it's a large part. You just follow the sequence of starting off with while the show's on NBC and the kids, hey, my dad's got a camera. Let's do our own thing and run in the backyard shooting visual with the phasers. On to let's build a bridge, and then finally it's okay. I know a guy with a warehouse. We can put up every set they have, and I got some actor friends, and in a way, a lot of it because It's helped out because the stuff has come out with a big, gigantic box set of the soundtrack for every note of music, every piece of tape they've got for the original series. Thankfully, some guy on YouTube, I'm blanking a bit on the name, RoboCat, I think, or something like that, has put up every track of that box set. I downloaded most of them. There's a few of them, like, extra takes of same things I didn't bother with, but the vast bulk of it I do have on file, and also occasionally drag them up and put them in my videos. Whereas, like, if the original fanfare doesn't quite fit, I can dig up the one from Mirror, that sort of thing. But a lot of stuff has become available to make it a lot easier. I think the full soundtrack, you can play any music you want on there. And there's another one, some guy has gone far beyond that sound effects CD they came out with a bunch of years ago, where he's gone through every bit of sound effect, a piece of sound effect stuff. I don't know how he got them. I don't care. I do wish he would do a catalog listing of Volume 4, because that's the rest of him. He's got a whole thing of what is what and what time champ. The fourth one, it's totally unlabeled. It's as long as the other ones, but it's like you have no idea what you're listening to. It's just I have to go through and just play it myself, mark it on the time thing. I'll maybe post it myself in the comment section on that. But full list of sound effects on there, and you can have all kinds of fun if you know what you're doing. There's one little complaint I had, by the way, with certain fan films. They go a little overboard with the music because it's there. Look back and watch the original series. They did not have music constantly running under every scene. The music is there to accentuate the mood. And if you're just having a dialogue thing where they're talking about something and saying, you don't need to be playing playful, music in the background. Just let the sound effects of the humming of the ship come. Because you kind of undercut the drama when the music does, you're supposed to cut in. So there's a lot of things you gotta show, gotta get a little restraint there. It's like just use the music when you want it. It's supposed to be there. Usually when not over dialogue. Okay, that's another big thing. Usually when very little times that they have them talking over music. Yeah. Oh, you knock it off. Stop it. All right, tell you what, I'm going to run the engine for a bit so I can get some cooler air going here. So, apologies now if it interferes with the sound too much. And of course, that's so deafening. So, I got 9 people watching, and nobody's throwing anything in my PayPal. Come on. That's not that I know of. Or super chats. Putting all this information. But yeah, Peter's, screwed her for everybody, really, because he had to be the brat. And now we got these guidelines, and people have adjusted a bit, and there's still fan films coming out now, but within the guidelines. Frankly, I would like to see an ultimate resolution as far as action goes of Alec loses the whole thing. I team up with Rob Burnett and say, hey, let's go to Georgia. Let's shoot this thing the way it's supposed to be shot. I got dibs on April. I'll get the haircut and the beard and wear a girdle and get in the uniform. But it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be tuned, pre-TOS, one bridge is really going to look a lot like the other ones. And so there's no reason it should look that different from the Enterprise bridge. Just if they're both pilot era bridges, you're done. Just change the plaque, different shooting angles and things, so when you do one bridge and the other, and insignia on the shirts. But that would be fun. And like I said, the Kingsland sets That's the ugly reality of Star Trek production. You go to Ticonderoga, they're all perfect. They got plasma screens on the monitors and stuff. They're real monitors. You have the sound effects piped in. It's actually more like you're on the Enterprise than it is on a set. Just don't look up and see the lights, but But for the most part, it's like you're in kind of a perfected reality type thing. And that's why when you got Shatner, oh yeah, it's just like it. No, Bill, come down to Georgia. Get on those sets. You'll start having flashbacks. Oh yeah, this is what it was like. Okay, yeah, that wall's not there. Yeah. It's hot. It's sweaty. Certain things on the set pieces tend to come off in your hand, like the buttons. There's one thing with the little rocker switches, in the rows. Now, back in the day, they probably did have plenty of them because they were fairly cheap back then. Just go to like Radio Shack or whatever electronics store. You can buy them by the bushel for the most part. They're not that. They don't make them anymore, so they're kind of hard to come by. So they only have like maybe one or two actual working ones. The rest of them you see are resin cast replicas, and they're just on a little board and they velcro. So there's only a certain number of them. So if they're needing them on like the bridge or whatever, then they don't need them in the brief room. Yep, take them. So they only have like enough of them for any good shot. Same thing with the chairs, and this is true on the original series. They didn't have that many of those chairs. So they were either on the bridge or they moved them over to the briefing room or they're somewhere else. So you go to Georgia and it's like, yeah, you go in the briefing room, it's not going to be the same kind of chairs because they're not going to be. The chairs are all on the bridge. And sometimes it's like you don't have those rocker switches on the. You see the Velcro where they go. And they do a lot of faking like the switching because, they hit something or other and they're not really moving anything, but you hear that click, when the sound effects afterwards. Yeah, you'll buy it. Same reason on the helm when they're putting the buttons and they had those clicks on there. Yeah, you'll think they're actually smooth. It's just resin stuck on the board. Nothing moves. Yes, it sucks. Doing what I can, Cap. Let's see, I'm showing, still got 8 people looking. Okay. Well, we still got fan films coming out now. With the technology along with it, they're going to keep on coming. Because it's now ridiculously easy to produce one of these things. Like I said, a lot of people go for green screen sets. If you know how to arrange it right, you get set up a couple blocks of the green blanket over here and line up later with a CGI set. No one's gonna know the difference. And of course, 12-year-olds now are doing CGI effects on their computers. That's how Gabe Kerner got started. He was doing that stuff on his computer. What's he doing now? He's got a few Emmy Awards with his nominations. Did stuff for the Orville and major motion pictures. And we knew him when, didn't we? He was a dorky 12-year-old in Trekkies. And Alec is still trying to shuck and jive his way into a thing. He's up around Atlanta now with those sets because he found out that it's a lot cheaper. Why everyone else has gone to Georgia to shoot them. It's a lot cheaper in Georgia. Of course, he's having trouble paying the rent in Georgia, too. Because his latest little stunt of going after Vic Mignogna and trying to jump in the Kick Vic movement has not won him any friends, right, for sure. Mainly because he's been being a jackass about it.